Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, it's awesome to be able to talk to you again. We were able to talk on the last album, and now we're able to talk about the third part of this trilogy, which is coming out at the end of October through Nuclear Blast. I've just gotten the chance to be able to check out this album over the last day, and I really love what's going on here. I mean, what I've always appreciated about the band is I never know what I'm going to be getting into with each album because each album feels like it's its own representation. And with this one, I love the darkness that's going on there. It feels so real and authentic, and I think this is the kind of album that we need right now in 2021.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, not a problem. So, with that in mind, I mean, what was it like to be writing for this album?
Um, the writing was very different from anything before. Um, we wrote it as a full band together. So, it was the first album that I gave up some creative control to the other guys in the band. We have three different guitarists. So normally a song would start with, one of us coming up with sort of a riff or something to start with, and we kind of play with that and stem off and work on it that way. So there's certain songs where I came up with the bass riff and then the other guys added to it, and vice versa. um I think it made for something different than I could write by myself. All the previous albums were just me writing all the music, and I have my own unique style and voice when putting something together. And I think these guys just they helped make it a little more complex than I usually write. My stuff is very minimalist, very straightforward and simple, and they were writing riffs that had different time signatures than I would normally do, and just a different feel than I could write. I really focus on like chord changes, which was still my main focus in this album. And then these guys were more about, the actual guitar riffs, the licks, and it's just a matter of putting those two together. And I think it still turned out like, still sounds like a Ghost Bath album because it's still all of us, all the same people. But it definitely pushed our sound forward, pushed it in a different direction, and it made something new. So yeah.
Yeah, and I do love that. I mean, like I said before, with each Ghost Path album, it feels like every album and release has its own feel behind it. And just seeing the evolution of where it is now, and seeing more of the complexity behind it, and so much like hatred and darkness that's going on throughout it too. I mean, like it. Not that the other previous albums haven't shown that before, but with this one, it's like it's really hitting me with what's going on. And I guess when you have an uh, album title like Self Loather, it's something I can very much relate to.
Yeah, good. I think it was important that we had that singular focus. I had the trilogy planned out since the very beginning when I first did Moon Lover. That was always going to be part one, and um, this album we were all on the same page. We knew what the themes were. We knew sort of the basic sound in a general sense of being more dark. I would say it contains a little bit more traditional black metal um, parts and influence, even though I don't think it turned out like a traditional black metal album at all. But and we took, at least personally, and I know one of the other guitarists, we took some more influence from death metal as well, and then just kind of mixed that in with what we normally do with you know uh, the depressive black metal elements. And so yeah, we started with Convince Me to Bleed. That was the first song we wrote on it, and we wrote that one all together in the same room. Unlike a lot of the other tracks where we'd be sending files back and forth and working on it that way. But that kind of helped set the tone for the record, get us all in the same mindset of what we were going for. And then from there we just yeah, it was kind of a drawn out process, but we kind of all got into the same mindset, all on the same page, and then yeah, that's how we put it together.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad to see that you guys were actually able to get together and actually, I mean, obviously when you're writing the stuff by yourself and then going back and forth and trading files to actually being able to work on a song together all in the same room. I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons that go into all of that. And how was that for you? Like when you were first like writing a song together when it comes to Ghost Bath?
Um, I mean, it wasn't an entirely new experience for me, personally, just in general, because I had been in bands previous to Ghost Bath where that was the only way we would write songs, and we would never we'd never like do them on our own and send files back and forth and stuff like that. So it was cool to return to that. We never I'd never written that way for Ghost Bath, and I think just being together as a band for so long. I mean, all the guys that wrote on this record have been around since we started touring back in 2016 with Moonlover. So we we kind of melded together pretty easily, and I don't even think we never even argued about any parts or anything. We just kind of went with the flow and made our case. Let's say if oh, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, we just talk it out, and yeah, I think, I don't know, we worked together really well on it. So
And that is so important too. I mean, especially when it comes into the songwriting process and knowing the direction of where the band is going to be when you're letting more people get involved with it. You want to make sure that everyone is on the same level and wanting to go towards the same direction, or at least open to the ideas of doing that as well, because that's always going to make for a better process of songwriting and staying in a band. I mean, especially when you're hiding things or you have some kind of passive aggression that's going on, like a lot of bands that I've been in the past, where someone always keeps quiet and then all of a sudden they just let the anger out right before they quit. I mean, you just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and I'm glad to see that.
it's funny you say that. I mean, I don't, we had a different drummer for one tour, and we still don't know exactly why he quit. um, uh, he didn't like let out any anger or anything like that, but I definitely feel like he wasn't like speaking up or saying something because it just came out of nowhere. During the writing of this album, like he helped work on Convince Me to Bleed, and then we were getting the track sort of figured out, and he just quit. So we got an original drummer back. But yeah, um, I know exactly what you're talking about. And he just, I don't know why. I mean, we're still like friends, we're on good terms. It was nothing personal, but yeah, there's definitely something going on. So yeah, the rest of us definitely like to speak out if, say, we can say whatever we need on the road and stuff. We've definitely had our arguments as a band, but nothing, it was never been anything huge or anything like that.
Oh yeah. And I think at least in my case, I mean, I've noticed that so much in the Midwest. I mean, any band that I've been in when it comes to Wisconsin or Minnesota, there's always at least one person that has that going on, and it's always led to like the breakdown of the band, or uh it's something like that happening. But it's when you are able to find the right people behind it, and it's just like you can actually talk things out rather than just hiding things away. I think that can lead to so many good things that can happen, and you can understand each other more.
Yeah, I think so as well. And most of the guys I've known even longer than being in Ghost Bath, because my previous band toured with their previous band, and um, also I think part of it is we're not really together in the same room for for too much time, other than being on tour or practicing for a few days in a row. I've always lived 8 hours away drive from them, and so it's not like we're constantly together. We're I don't know if you want to call it like cabin fever or whatever. If you're like always together, you start to get sick of each other or whatever. So I think that kind of helps too, where I'm kind of like separate from the band for a while, and these guys, we only practice, previous to a tour or previous to recording. And so leaving it more sparse like that, when we do get together, we're more, focused, and it's more like a reunion of sorts than, we're just always with each other. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of truth to that too. I mean, when you can have it like that, where it is like more of a reunion and getting together with friends or getting
Mm.
together with people you haven't seen in a while, and you're working towards that right goal of playing the music you want to play and doing it for something like going out on tour, like writing an album and recording. I mean, when you can focus on it like that and then, have your time apart and then get back together again, I honestly, I think that might be a better route to go in.
Yeah. Well, most people I tell that, I'm an 8 hour drive away, or always are like, whoa, like it's so a big thing or something. But that's just always how it's been for me being in North Dakota. Everything's far away from each other. Um, so yeah, an 8 hour drive to Minneapolis for me is just like a day drive. It's not a big deal. I just got used to it really quick. And so, my first tour, or well, I guess it was like a little mini tour, but my first show out of town was in like Rapid City. I don't know how far that is, like 12 hours away. So it's just always been a part of my life to sort of drive long distances. And I don't know, I like driving too. It's just, you're alone on the road, and listen to whatever. So
Oh yeah, it can be very cathartic when you're by yourself and you can just have your thoughts going on, or you can put on some music and you don't have to worry about other people. You're just with yourself, you're in a car and you're able to just drive. And I can relate to that when I was living in Wisconsin and constantly going to Minneapolis, whether it was going to shows or it was going to band practice or whatever the case is, just I had like either an hour and a half or a 2 hour drive from very small town in Wisconsin. And just that drive there and drive back was almost the best part of the day. Yeah, even more so than getting together and playing music.
yeah, I do like that. I listen to a lot of like audiobooks, podcasts, albums. It's kind of cool. And I mean, 8 hours is a long time, so I can do all that in one trip. But yeah, and I even kind of do a similar thing when we're on tour. I'm the guy who will drive overnight, and everyone else will be asleep. Like I can't fall asleep driving. Basically, it's just not something that's going to happen. And I'm a night owl, and so if we want to get to the next place overnight, maybe if we're in like the American Southwest or somewhere where it's going to be really freaking hot to drive during the day, I'll just we'll get done with the show, and I'll listen to my stuff and drive, and everyone else is asleep. So I do like doing that.
Oh, totally. I can relate to that so much too. I mean, I pretty much have the graveyard shift lifestyle as well too. I mean, especially when it comes to like the Midwest summers when the humidity comes up and everything. I mean, it's so much nicer to be up at night so you're not dealing with all that heat and the humidity that's going on. And at night, you can have the windows down and you feel that nice cool breeze going on, and it can be really relaxing when you're driving.
Yeah, it's almost like a meditative state in a way. Like I know you're not supposed to sort of zone out, but I kind of do. And it like the time passes really quick for me. And yeah, like today I've been trying to fix my schedule, and I was waking up at like 7, 8 a.m. for like 3 days, and it just never lasts. Like it'll slowly go back. And then like the last couple days it was 10, and then it was like noon yesterday. And then today I woke up at like 3 p.m. So no matter what I do, I just end up going back to this night schedule, and I have to like force myself to stay up an entire day to try to reset it. But every time I don't know, I just stay up late, and when I'm like by myself at night, I don't get tired as quick, and I'm just awake through the night. And then most of the time I'll end up going to bed when the sun's coming up, and I don't know what it is, but that's how I've been for a long time now.
That is the exact same thing as me. I mean, I pretty much live that exact same lifestyle, and especially at nights, I feel like I'm the most productive. I can feel like I can get a lot more stuff done. I mean, whether it's music related, whether it's other kind of work, it's just like I feel the most creative, and I feel like I can get a lot of stuff done at nights. I mean, there's so much less distraction going on.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And like feeling like truly alone and you can focus 100%, if everyone else is asleep. I think it's kind of like subconscious where you're just like, okay, well, I'm not going to be, bothered by anything. There's nothing going on. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be. You just, you can focus 100% on whatever you're working on. So yeah, I do like ton of design work at night, usually ton of business type stuff. And if I am going to write music, it's usually overnight as well. So
Oh, totally. And getting back into the album when it comes to that, I mean, listening to it overnight this past night, I mean, listening to it just like felt so perfect, like listening to it at like 2, 3 a.m. and just like really being able to just absorb it. Like I'm not hearing anyone outside, hearing the crickets and stuff like that, but otherwise just really being able to just like get into the music, like really paying attention to everything that's going on. And you get into that trance of what's going on. I mean, there's so much good ebb and flow that's going on throughout the entire album. And that's why I'm so glad to see that, like especially a part with like putting this trilogy together, it's just like, like the song order, the track listing, and the songs themselves are just so important because it really, the motions of a whole album, I feel is still very important. And it's great to see that, especially when it comes to this trilogy.
yeah, we definitely took a lot of care for, you know, both the order of the tracks and which tracks made it onto the album. Like we wrote probably 20 something songs and we cut it down slowly over time. We even recorded one in the studio that's fully finished that didn't make it on the album. So um, we did actually, I think a lot of our disagreement was on the track order and track list, and we finally settled on where it's at now. But yeah, I think 2 3 a.m listening to an album, that's like the perfect time for me too. It just lets you kind of get taken away by it, kind of escape into it. um Always there's this feeling, it probably has like a technical term, but it's like being in a different world or like a new world. And I get that a lot when I listen to an album that late at night by myself. I get the same feeling when I sort of we're on the road and um, we're like in a different city every night, and then I come out, my surroundings are completely different, and I'm unfamiliar with everything around me. I really like that type of feeling, and so I think it makes sense that you know listening to the album that late would do that for you as well. So
Yeah, and especially for the first time too, just like being able to experience that for the first time, and just seeing how it was going, how you were going to be closing out this trilogy, and just really absorbing everything that's going on. And another thing that I truly appreciate about what's going on here, uh, you know, more than just the band getting together and being able to write songs together, is there's actually some guests on this album as well too. I mean, it's great to see the quality of guests that are on this album, and they really make a good impact on it.
yeah, there's actually quite a few guests, and just the vocal guests are more of what's listed. But I think since I was already giving up some control, it was a lot easier to be like, I want this like string part. Let's find somebody who knows how to play the strings, or like a cello or whatever. Or I even got a piano guest who I found him on Twitch, actually, the streaming service Twitch. But it was, as soon as I heard him playing, I was like, this would fit really well in with the album. And so I hit him up and we worked on some piano. And so yeah, I thought it was cool to bring in bunch of different people who sort of, specialized in their instrument instead of me just, putting my own voice and touch on every single little part. Um, and again, that I think that also helped to differentiate this album. Like the last thing I wanted was for it to sound exactly the same as everything before. And I think we accomplished that pretty well. I even got a female vocalist who did some of those chorus type parts. Trying to think of any other guests, and then obviously our vocal guests. Yeah. So
Yeah, and when you're able to find that caliber of people, I mean, whether it is on Twitch, whether it's someone local, whether it's someone that you just know, it's just like being able to adapt to working with all these different types of people, and when they are good at what they're capable of doing, whether it's keyboard or piano or vocals or whatever ends up happening. I mean, when you can find that touch that they add to it and adding something that you didn't even imagine could be there, it can be such a great thing to experience.
yeah, I like that. Each person kind of didn't get the whole picture. Like they contributed their part, and then we were the ones to sort of put it together. So like the piano on one of the tracks, Sanguine Mask, was done by itself, and then the strings were done like with it by itself, and so like neither person like knew the other instrumentalist. And yeah, thinking about that, that's kind of funny. I don't even think they've heard that yet, so we'll see how they react to it. Be like, oh, there's like strings with my piano. He didn't even like write it to have strings with it. That was something we did after the fact, so I think that's kind of cool too.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you got that creativity that's going on and you're able to come up with these ideas, I mean, if they flow together and you try it out and it sounds good, I mean, there's no reason not to keep it.
Yeah, it was cool. I felt like I was orchestrating this big production, and I'm like, okay, you do this, and then I take the parts, put it together, and sort of like shuffle it around and make it into an album.
Oh, absolutely. So, thinking about that as well too, it's so much going into it audibly, but visually, there's so much cool stuff that's going on. I mean, whether it's the album artwork or the music video that you guys are able to shoot, I mean, there's a lot of great imagery that's going around this time as well.
Yeah, I've always tried to get every element in line and focused with the themes or the intent of the album. So um with the trilogy, just I wanted the visuals to align with the sound and the ideas. For this one, obviously being like the darkest, we did more of a contrast, black and white. And we kind of, some of the visuals we got the idea from the first time we were writing Convince Me to Bleed. We did like a demo track, and we had a videographer, Austin, come into the studio, and he shot some little like teaser shots. We put those videos out there like a minute long. They're just little studio teasers, but he did sort of the slow motion, the close ups, a high contrast, black and white. And when we saw that, we're like, okay, this will kind of help drive like the visual aspect for this album. Um, and yeah, the cover itself, I did the same as I have for all the previous albums, which I wait until the entire album's done. It's all written. We have the titles. We know everything. We just don't have the cover. And then I'll search until I find like the perfect piece for it that's already completed, and then I'll contact whoever I need in order to like license it or use it for the album.
Yeah, and it's amazing how that works too, because it feels like when look at that cover, it feels like it was made specifically for the album. It's amazing the quality of artistry that's out there, and when you can find something like that that really can identify the art that you're working on, you're able to put that together. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I like for the art to be done just for the sake of the art piece. So like, Moon Lover, that photograph was taken in 1989. It had nothing to do with with the album, but I like it being, like a singular piece. The art was done for that art piece's sake. And then later on, um, we made the album for the album's sake. And then as soon as I see it, I just know it's the one. It's that sort of thing. Like I'll look for, weeks, months at a time. And then when I see the piece that, connects with me just perfectly, that's when I know. I'm like really picky about it. But I think every time I found one that just as soon as I saw it, it's not like a oh, okay, well, maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe this one. Let's go through all our options. It's always, I'll find that particular piece and then I just know. So
That's such a great way to go about it too, and it really goes to show like how much art can be an inspiration too, even when it comes to completed work that you've already done. When you can find something else that's completed, no matter when it was created, when you're able to see that, and it can conjure up so many kinds of imagery and creativity that's going on in your mind when it's not even connected. I mean, it's great to see that growth that goes in there too, because it helps you come up with ideas in the future.
mhm. And I just know, like in the back of my head, if I like commissioned something, it would never turn out how I had it in my head, and I would probably be some level of disappointed no matter what. So I think that also keeps me from saying presenting, the album to an artist and be like, here, like make the cover. This is what we want, because it just would never live up to the standards in my head. At least if I pick something that's already done, I know exactly what it's going to be, exactly how it turned out, and I'll know exactly what it looks like. So.
Oh, definitely. So, thinking about that as well too. I mean, obviously with the album coming out October 29th, and a lot of promotion that's been going into it. I've been seeing a lot of great things that have been said about the singles so far. And of course, the changing landscape that we're in right now, whether tours are coming back or tours are getting canceled, whatever the case is there any plans that's going on with the band now that the album's complete?
Um, it's just difficult right now to find a tour. um, everything's getting pushed um forward from this year and last year, even tours that were supposed to happen in 2020 are in 2022 now. So it's kind of a difficult landscape to navigate right now. And I just moved out to the East Coast, so I'm even further from the band. But we're looking, and if we find something, we definitely want to be on the road. We want to go out. It's just everything's so up in the air still. Even though some tours are starting to happen, some festivals that we're not we're not too worried about it. If it happens, it happens. But if not, I think our plan would just be to work on another album in the meantime, and just wait it out, which is what we wanted to do with this one. We kind of drew out the writing process. We're like, oh, we don't have to rush this, and we waited and we waited, and still, even though it kind of seems like things are opening back up, we'll have to see. I don't know.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And being able to take that focus that would have been on touring and being able to put it back into the band, whether whatever direction Ghostbath goes in now that the trilogy is done. It's just like being able to see what that next chapter of the band's going to be like. I mean, I think I being able to have that time, whether tours start happening in 2022 or if it keeps getting pushed back or whatever the case is, taking that time to be able to work on the band like that, I find that to be such a great thing to be able to work on when there's so much bad things that are going on right now.
Yeah. Writing's my favorite part of being in a band, so um it's not that big of a deal to me. It just gives me more time to write. And I mean, I do enjoy touring quite a bit, and I do miss it. It's been a while, but I don't even remember what it feels like at this point. I mean, Star Mortar came out in 2017,
Mhm.
and when was our last tour? I think in 2019 we did like 2 weeks in October, and that was the last time I've been on the road. So it's been quite a while. Um, but yeah, I don't want to rush it and then get canceled and get disappointed. And we're just kind of easy going, laid back, waiting for. We don't want to like force a tour that we don't want to do. So we're kind of being a little more picky this time, but it is what it is. And I think if we happen to have two records to tour on when the time finally comes, it's not going to be a problem. We'll just play from both of the new records, I guess.
And there's that much more to choose from when you're putting together a set list.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with this new record, it's kind of cool. It's short. They're shorter songs, so we can do more in a set. With when we were touring with Loather and Star Mourner, it was like, all right, you have like an opening set, 30 minutes. Maybe you have a support set, 45. You can pick like 4 or 5 songs at most. So with this one, we can add a bunch of songs to it. So it'll be interesting.
Oh, totally. And, whenever that day comes that touring will actually be able to happen, that'll be a great time being able to experience those songs live. But, until then, there is the music that is out there right now. And of course, with Loather coming out on the 29th of October, I mean, I've been very fortunate to be able to check out this album and continue checking it out. And it's just something that really hit me last night, and I really love that feeling, and I hope a lot of other people start when they get the chance to be able to check out the album when it comes out, they'll start to feel that as well too. And I just really love seeing where the band's at right now, and seeing, like I mentioned before, knowing that the trilogy is now complete. I'm excited to see what the next chapter is going to be for the band and whatever happens next.
Yeah, same here. We haven't really made any decisions as far as that goes. It'll be another album written by the entire band. I think it turned out well this time, so we're going to continue with that method, and we could go any number of directions. I'm not afraid to experiment or do something a little more off the wall. So we'll see where we go. We've thrown out some like ideas to each other, and yeah, it could go so many different ways. So I honestly don't even know what we're going to be doing next either. So it's kind of exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think with that, I think that's a great note to end on. I mean, just waiting to see what that expectation is going to be going forward. But, I appreciate you taking the time to be able to do this. It was great to be able to talk to you again, talk about this album that I'm just enjoying so much right now. And I know I'm just going to grow to love it more and more the more that I get to listen to it. And yeah, I mean, just an album like Loather coming out in 2021, I think it's something that I needed right now personally, and I think a lot of other people are gonna experience that as well. And I just thank you for taking the time to be able to talk about all of it.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.